First time sailing on a cruise through Norway? In today's video, I am dishing 15 essential Norwegian fjords tips that can make or break your trip, from what to pack, what to do, and more. Norway is one of the most underrated travel destinations in the entire world. From massive mountain ranges to impressive fjords to Gatorade blue glacial water, Norway has so much to offer, not to mention those old traditional wharf towns that add a little bit of a European flair to the country, plus some of the best pastries you will ever have in your entire life. Norway truly offers something for every type of traveler. If you're new here, hey guys, I'm Indigo from the Indigo Sahara travel blog, where we help hundreds of thousands of travelers just like you make your dream trips a reality through budget travel tips and destination guides. So be sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video so that you don't miss any future tips. In the next few weeks, I'm going to be sharing a ton of Norway destination guides from Flom and Olden and Bergen and more. So definitely subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any of those. Without further ado, let's get into those 15 tips for sailing through the Norwegian fjords. Number 1, cruise through the Norwegian fjords in the summertime. The best time to cruise the Norwegian fjords is in the summer, particularly in June and July. In the summer, you can experience the infamous midnight sun, score the best weather, and avoid winter weathery related cancellations. It's also peak tourist season for Norway, so if you go in the summer, expect bigger crowds and higher prices, but in this video I'm going to show you how to score some summertime deals if you're on a budget. Additionally, it's worth mentioning that because of the midnight sun phenomenon, meaning you're so far north on the globe that you get sun pretty much 24 hours during the summer in Norway. Because of the midnight sun, you probably won't be able to see the northern lights if you're cruising through the southern fjords. So if you're going to Norway hoping to see the auroras, you might consider booking your trip in between September through March, when peak Northern Lights season is. Number 2, pack warm layers. Despite traveling in summer, don't be fooled. Norway is cold. Anticipate high midday temperatures of around 55 degrees Fahrenheit or 13 degrees Celsius in Norway in the summer. As such, packing warm layers is crucial to ensure you have a comfortable Norwegian fjords cruise. Long pants, warm socks, long sleeves, and a jacket or coat are essential. I personally packed my new cream Columbia packable down jacket and I loved it. I don't remember being cold once on the trip. I don't remember feeling wet. There was rain quite a few of the days of our trip, and I don't remember feeling wet or cold even when I was hiking. So if you're looking for a packable down jacket and you don't have one already, I definitely recommend this one from Columbia. But that's not to say that you won't have warmer temperatures during the daytime, even if the mornings and nights are chilly. So that's why I suggest packing layers like long sleeves and t-shirts under your jacket, under your heavy sweatshirts, so that you can de-layer during the middle of the day when the temperatures are the highest, if needed. Number 4, book your Norway cruise excursions early. Unfortunately, we learned this one the hard way, and by the time we were ready to book excursions, everything was sold out. Because passengers want the easiest way possible to enjoy the fjords and explore and then go on adventures away from the cruise port, Norway excursions book out really fast and they can be pretty pricey. So to combat those costs, I definitely recommend, instead of booking directly through your cruise, although this is the easiest option, so if you're looking for the easiest option, booking through your cruise line would be the best option. But if you're looking for the most budget friendly, I recommend actually booking directly through the Norway tour companies, because you'll get to experience the exact same tours and go to the exact same places, but they don't charge extra just for the convenience of booking right through the cruise line instead of searching for those port companies. But these also sell out fast too, so you definitely still want to book those way in advance. Again, we learned this the hard way because everything was booked out. But worst case scenario, if all the excursions that you want to do are sold out, then do what we did and get off the ship as early as you can on that port day and book the tour that you want to go on with the tour company directly right away at the port city the morning of. Honestly, there's a little bit of a wager here because you risk all of the tours being sold out. However, I was even able to go on the Bricksteel Glacier hike, which is one of the most popular excursions in Olden, Norway, doing this just by getting off the ship as early as possible, heading straight to the ticketing office, which in Olden specifically is right next to the cruise port, so it's super easy to find. They also had a bunch of tents with different tours up right on the port, so it was easy to find, but I went there straight in the morning and was able to secure a couple last minute tickets. Needless to say, if you don't want to deal with that stress, then definitely book your excursions early. Number 5, choose your Norwegian cruise line itinerary wisely. The best itinerary for a Norwegian fjords cruise includes port stops in Olden and Flåm, as well as sea towns like Stavanger and Bergen. Obviously, you're going to want to choose the best itinerary for you because every traveler has different types of travel preferences. For example, if you love city life, love European towns, love the atmosphere of being on the seaside in a coastal town, then you'll definitely want to go to cities like Stavanger and Bergen. But if you prefer the more adventurous side of travel, you love mountains, love glacial lakes, love hiking, love exploring, and you just are a true adventurer, then you're definitely going to want to opt for a cruise itinerary that has places like Olden and Flåm, because that is where you're going to be deep in the mountains in the most beautiful fjords that you can imagine. Number 6, you're also going to want to choose your Norwegian fjords cruise line wisely. Again, very similarly, some people prefer big cruise ships with all of the bells and whistles. You want activities every night, shows every night. You never want to be bored on the ship, then you're going to want to be on a bigger cruise line and a bigger cruise ship that has all the bells and whistles, like, for example, Royal Caribbean's Anthem of the Seas that sails in Norway. That's the ship that we were on. Or if you prefer smaller ships, you like a quieter vibe, less passengers, more secluded and private, and you don't need all the bells and whistles, then you might want to consider going on one of these smaller ships that can go into the deeper fjords. But don't worry, no matter what size of ship you're gonna go on, you will still be able to see the epic, massive mountain fjords, and you'll still be able to see like beautiful sceneries. So I definitely don't mean that you'll be able to see cooler places if you're on the smaller ships. It's just a matter of personal preference, really. Number 7, avoid sailing out of Southampton. US people, this is particularly for you. We also learned this tip the hard way. And basically we booked this cruise because my sister was actually studying abroad in London at the time. So our plan was to fly to London, pick her up, then make our way down to Southampton, which is in the southern UK, and cruise out of Southampton into Norway. However, the problem with this was the transportation from London to Southampton was, well, for lack of better words, very much an inconvenience. We went into it a little blind and kind of just assumed that there would be a train directly from London Heathrow or the London area right to the Southampton cruise terminal. But unfortunately, the train in Southampton ends, it does not go all the way to the cruise terminal. It ends about a mile away from the cruise terminal, and we didn't know this until like the day before we were supposed to go to the cruise port. And that would have meant that we would have had to carry all of our bags, all of our luggage a mile, or hail a taxi to get from the train station to the cruise terminal, which obviously we did not want to do. We did not want to carry all of our heavy suitcases on cobblestone streets for an entire mile just to get to the cruise port. So we actually ended up scheduling an Uber ride from our hotel in London down to the cruise port, which was convenient, but also very, very expensive. If you take a rideshare or taxi service from London to the Southampton cruise terminal, you're gonna end up paying like at least $200 each way, which is gonna add up because you also have to make your way back to London at the end of your cruise if you're flying out of London again. So basically, Southampton is kind of just a hassle to cruise out of. The exception is if you're from the UK or live in somewhere in the UK near Southampton, you can easily drive to the cruise port and park your car there. That would be obviously a much better option than those of us who are flying into London from an international destination like the US or Canada or wherever, and then having to get from London Heathrow to the cruise terminal. That's what was a hassle. Also, I definitely want to mention that if you are planning to take an Uber from London to Southampton and vice versa, then you definitely want to schedule them and book them ahead of time, because you don't want to end up stranded in one place or the other and miss your flight or miss the cruise because you didn't schedule them ahead of time, and you're competing with an entire cruise ship of passengers that is trying to get to the cruise terminal or trying to get to the airport on the same day. As we were making our way back to London after our cruise was done, we actually came into contact with one of the cruise terminal employees who asked where we were going. They were just giving us directions. We said we have an Uber, and she kind of looked at me like, you're screwed. Like, if you don't have it booked, you're screwed. And she was like, you have it pre-booked already, right? And we were like, yeah, we do. We booked it a couple of days ago. And she's like, okay, good. So obviously it happens a lot that Ubers literally book up and they don't have any taxis available because there's so many passengers trying to leave the cruise terminal. So definitely pre-book those in advance. Number 8. This is the place to splurge on a balcony stateroom. Once you're on the ship, the views are magnificent. If you choose any cruise sailing to splurge on with a balcony stateroom, I highly recommend splurging on a fjord sailing. Truly, nothing compares to the epic Norwegian fjord views from the peaceful privacy of your stateroom balcony. I'm honestly so thankful that our vacation package came with a balcony stateroom upgrade because it was so nice not having to go up to the upper decks, to the pool deck where there's a crowd of other passengers looking at the views. Instead, early in the morning, I could just step right onto my balcony and see the massive fjord mountains and the beautiful water right from the privacy and quiet peacefulness of my own balcony. That being said, number 9 is to check Costco Travel for cruise deals. It is no secret that typically balcony staterooms are a lot more expensive than non-balcony staterooms, than the interior staterooms. So if you're not exactly willing to just cough up that money, there are ways around it to pay prices that are even cheaper than the interior staterooms, to be quite frank, and still get a balcony stateroom. So if you're cruising on a budget and still want the luxury of your own private balcony, I highly recommend checking Costco Travel for Norwegian fjords cruise deals. This is what we did, and we were able to secure a balcony stateroom with a ton of other inclusions like spa credits and onboard specialty dining credits and more through Costco Travel for a fraction of the price. If you're interested in learning more about Costco Travel, I actually have an entire video going over and reviewing Costco Travel based on my experiences. I've booked through them a few times now, and I have some opinions. So I definitely go and watch that video if you are interested in learning more about Costco Travel. Number 10, one of my best Norwegian fjords tips is to wake up for sunrise. You definitely want to wake up for sunrise while cruising through the Norwegian fjords, especially when cruising into mountain towns like Flåm and Olden. Every night the captain announced the time of the next morning sunrise as well as estimated times of when we were going to pull into that day's fjord from the North Sea. He said if you can manage to wake up, the views are going to be worth it, and he was not lying. I woke up at about 4:30 a.m. every single day with zero regrets because the views were that good. It was riveting waking up, grabbing my Starbucks from our mini fridge that I ordered the night before, walking out onto our stateroom balcony in my pajamas and watching the fjord unfold before my eyes. So many mountains, so many massive waterfalls, and so many quaint towns. Number 11, on the contrary, if you enjoy sleeping as much as possible when you're on vacation, then I recommend bringing a sleeping eye mask with you. Because of that midnight sun phenomenon, the sun only sets for a couple hours every night and never truly gets dark. In fact, in mid-June, the sun actually never sets. While the cruise staterooms will definitely have blackout curtains, it might be worth bringing a sleeping mask just in case, just to make sure that you're able to sleep well. I have the silk sleeping eye mask from Metway on Amazon and I love it. It works great and it's satiny silky so that it's better for your complexion and preventing wrinkles and breakouts, which is why I got it. And yeah, it works great. Number 12, know that most of the ports are actually very small. It is worth noting that if you're expecting to sail into big cities, you will be disappointed. The majority of the Norwegian fjord cruise ports are very, very small. They only consist of a few souvenir shops, few restaurants or bakeries, and then the touring companies, basically. A lot of the locals that work at these cruise ports don't even live there. They actually commute from other cities into the cruise town to work for the tourist companies and the restaurants and bakeries and hotels that cater to tourism there. But needless to say, unless you're cruising into ports like Oslo, which is Norway's capital, or Bergen, which is Norway's second biggest city, don't expect to be going into huge cities where you can find convenience stores or anything that you might want to pick up or need. Know that they're very, very small, relatively speaking. A bonus to the small ports, though, is that most of the cities are very, very walkable, including Bergen. You can walk from the cruise ports to the majority of what you're going to want to see at a lot of these ports. And if you can't walk there, there are often tents and tourism ticketing offices that offer tours and shuttle buses and excursions to the places that you're going to want to see. Like in Flem and Olden, you'll likely need a shuttle bus to bring you to wherever you want to go, or a tour to see the main sightseeing spots near that port. But there are a lot of tour companies that work in these towns, so you shouldn't have a problem finding those excursions as long as you book early. Number 13 is probably the most important tip in this entire video, and that is do not confuse Norwegian krona with other krona currencies. Arguably one of the worst mistakes that you can make while traveling to Norway is thinking that a Norwegian krona is equal to any other krona and that krona is just the currency, but no, it is Norwegian krona, which is separate from Swedish krona and Danish krona and Icelandic krona. These are all different types of currencies that are not equal. They do not have equal values and they will not be accepted in the other countries. This is like comparing Canadian dollars to US dollars. They're both called dollars, but they're very different, and you can't use Canadian dollars in the US and you can't use US dollars in Canada. I am glad that I knew this ahead of time because I learned it in Iceland. I was in a grocery store doing conversions on my phone just to figure out how much groceries were while I was there, and that's how I figured out that Icelandic krona were not equal to any other types of krona. So I'm glad that I knew that going ahead of time. But I did see at least one other passenger who did not know this, and she just went into her bank in the US asking for krona. So what did they give her? They gave her krona, but it was Swedish krona. So when she was trying to pay for a souvenir in a Norwegian souvenir shop, they couldn't accept her money and she couldn't get her souvenir because she had Swedish krona, not Norwegian krona. They felt really bad that they couldn't accept it, but obviously they couldn't accept it. And she was just like, what? The bank just ripped me off. They didn't know what they were doing and they didn't give me the right krona. So all that to say, if you're planning on getting any cash before your Norway cruise, specifically ask your bank for Norwegian krona, not just krona. Don't just say I want krona because they might give you a different type. You have to ask for Norwegian krona. And if you don't want to deal with bringing cash, then credit cards are pretty much widely accepted everywhere in Norway. Particularly Visas and MasterCards are accepted everywhere. American Express cards are a little bit more few and far between in terms of acceptance in Europe. So if you have a Visa or MasterCard, definitely bring that one instead. But generally speaking, credit cards are very widely accepted everywhere there. Number 14, try a Norwegian pastry or 2 or 3 or more. You cannot visit Norway without trying their pastries. Now I know that this is a very, very hot take. Are you ready for it? But all of my entire family agreed that the pastries in Norway are better than the pastries in France. Yep, I said it. And this is coming from someone who loves French pastries, but the pastries in Norway, oh, they're just so good. My mouth is literally watering as I'm saying this. Norway has some of the best pastries that I have ever tasted in my entire life. Definitely try a cinnamon roll from a good bakery. Pretty much any of the rolls in the Norwegian cafes and bakeries are gonna be delicious. They're so doughy and so soft. They're so good. My favorite one that I tried had like a blackcurrant jam inside of it. It was like a doughy roll with blackcurrant jam and custard. Oh, it was so good. And you'll find these coffee shops, cafes, and bakeries kind of scattered throughout the bigger cities like in Bergen or Oslo. So you shouldn't have trouble finding one. And we didn't even go to like the good bakeries. We just went to like the chain coffee shops or like just like any coffee shop that we passed, we went in, and the baked goods were delicious. So I can only imagine how good the baked goods are in the bakeries that you specifically go to because they're known for the best Norwegian pastries. Anyways, all that to say, definitely try a pastry. And lastly, number 15 for all my adventurous eaters out there is to try moose, whale, or reindeer while you are in Norway. In Norway, you will be given the unique opportunity to try some Norwegian wildlife, such as moose and whale and reindeer, if you dare. You can try these meats in a variety of forms, such as reindeer hot dogs, which is what I had, or whale sausage, moose burgers. Just to give you a couple examples, they have a variety of ways that you can try the meat. My reindeer hot dog was pretty good. Kind of just tasted like a, you know, Polish sausage or like regular hot dog. Tastes like a hot dog. So it definitely wasn't bad. It was good, and it's definitely worth trying just to say that you tried it more than anything, and it's just a fun thing to experience. We tried ours in the Bergen fish market, which you will pass if you go to Bergen, the Bergen area, which is like the wharf city center part of Bergen. You'll pass through a fish market on your way from the cruise port, and that's where we tried our reindeer hot dogs. They were great there. Also, when we were in Flam. Yes, when we were in Flam, my sister tried a moose burger. She said it was good. So you'll be able to find these like throughout the ports. They're very touristy, so obviously they're catering to tourists, and you'll find them near the touristy ports, obviously then. I also purchased a souvenir package of whale sausage for my husband, which he was excited to get and to try because obviously he's never had whale before. So you can find those little small packages of like whale sausage or reindeer sausage, whatever, in the souvenir stores as well. And that is it for the 15 most essential Norwegian fjords cruise tips that I have for you today. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss all of my destination guides for Norway that are coming up in the next few weeks. I'm so excited. There'll be a video about Flum and Olden and Bergen and more, so definitely subscribe so you don't miss those. And if you're hoping to cruise carry-on only on your Norwegian cruise, definitely watch this video where I go over how to cruise with a carry-on only, all of my best packing tips for cruises, so you can watch that next. And other than that, I will see you in next week's video. So for now, ciao.